The stars hung like scattered diamonds across the black velvet of space, distant and indifferent. I had always thought of the galaxy as an empty place, vast and cold, but nothing could have prepared me for the weight of being hunted. And I wasn't alone in this truth. She was there. Always. I first met Kalara on the ruins of Zephyria Prime, an abandoned research colony orbiting a dying sun. Her arrival was sudden, her figure a silhouette against the orange glare of the sun's last light. I didn't understand why she appeared, only that she was fast, almost too fast, moving like the shadows themselves had taken form. Her eyes, a piercing silver, met mine and held me in place. "You are marked," she said, and her voice carried a gravity I couldn't comprehend. "They will come for you." I blinked. Marked? Hunters? My life had been ordinary until then. I had no enemies. No secrets. I was just a human lost among the stars. "I don't understand," I said, stepping back instinctively. Kalara's hand went to the hilt of her weapon, a long, curved blade that hummed faintly with energy. "You will," she replied. And she didn't leave. The first attack came at night, though night, in space, is a relative term. Zephyria Prime was a desolate sphere of rock and metal, and we had taken shelter in the skeletal remains of a research station. The alarms had barely begun to wail before they struck. Ancient hunters, Kalara had said, creatures older than humanity itself, their forms shifting between shadows and flesh, fast and relentless. I barely had time to process them before Kalara was in motion. She moved like a predator, every step precise, every swing of her blade devastating. Her silver armor glimmered faintly, reflecting bursts of energy as she cut through the attackers. "Run," she shouted, grabbing my arm. But I couldn't. I was rooted by awe and terror. She wasn't just strong. She was supernatural, a force of nature who had chosen me for reasons I still didn't understand. And so I stayed. Over the following weeks, Kalara never slept. I tried to rest. I tried to eat, but my stomach refused. Every shadow became a threat. Every whisper of movement set my nerves on fire. She patrolled tirelessly, her eyes scanning every corner, every ventilation shaft, every ruined corridor. "You need to sleep," I said one evening, after she had repelled another wave of hunters. "I do not need sleep," she replied, her tone clipped. "They will not wait for your convenience." I realized then that she was speaking the truth. These hunters were patient, calculating, and ancient. They had been tracking me across systems I had never even heard of, and Kalara was my shield, my only line of defense. It was on the third night that she finally spoke about why they were after me. We had taken refuge in the remains of a control tower, and the orange light of the dying sun painted long, haunting shadows across the floor. She crouched next to me, her voice softer than I had ever heard. "You carry something in your blood," Kalara said. "Something they have hunted for eons." I laughed nervously. "Blood? I'm human. There's nothing special about my blood." Kalara shook her head. "It is not the blood itself, but what flows beneath it. They seek it to gain power, to extend their existence. They are ancient, yes, but they are also desperate." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. And that makes me target number one. The attacks grew bolder. The hunters had learned my patterns, the rhythm of my breathing, the path I took when Kalara allowed me to move. She never let me travel alone, always circling me, always alert. Her presence was suffocating, yet oddly comforting. One night, as we moved through the skeletal remains of a derelict shuttle bay, they struck. I had seen Kalara dispatch attackers before, but this time there were more, faster, stronger. I froze, but she didn't. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible, her weapon a silver arc that cut through the darkness like lightning. But then one of them shifted form, a shadow of its own shadow, and lashed at me. I stumbled, tripping over a fallen beam. The creature's claws grazed my arm, and I cried out. Kalara was there in an instant. Her hand shot out, catching my shoulder, pulling me behind her shield. The shadow collided with her energy barrier, shrieking in fury. "Do not move," she barked, her silver eyes glowing. After the fight, when the creatures had retreated, I sat on the cold metal floor, trembling. Kalara crouched beside me, her hand resting lightly on my arm. "You cannot hide what they seek," she said quietly. "But I can protect you, if you trust me." I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her that I didn't deserve protection, that this was madness. But the truth was clear. I couldn't survive this without her. I didn't want to. "I trust you," I whispered. Her eyes softened ever so slightly, but the tension in her posture never left. She had seen too many centuries, too many battles, too many losses. And now, somehow, I was entwined in her life, her purpose, her war. Days turned into weeks. Kalara never rested. She patrolled, hunted, and shielded me, all the while explaining little about herself. She was a warrior from a lineage older than the star systems we traveled, a sentinel tasked with guarding humanity from threats it couldn't even comprehend. And yet, in the rare moments of quiet, she showed glimpses of something else. Humor. Curiosity. A flicker of care. "You are strange," she said once, as I fumbled with a ration pack. "Most humans would have panicked, run, or screamed by now. You adapt." "I'm just lucky," I said, and she gave me a look that suggested otherwise. "You are more than luck," she replied softly. "You carry something they desire. That makes you precious. And dangerous." Then came the night that changed everything. We had tracked the hunters to the crater of an extinct volcano on Zephyria Prime, thinking we could confront them, maybe even turn the tables. I was terrified. My hands shook as Kalara inspected the perimeter, her senses alert. "They will come," she murmured. I nodded, gripping my weapon tightly, though I had little hope it would do anything. The hunters arrived in waves, like shadows crawling across the land. But Kalara was ready. She moved faster than I could follow, her blade a silver streak that dismembered and disarmed, yet she always came back to me, circling protectively. Then, the leader appeared, a massive form, taller than the tallest human, cloaked in darkness, so complete it seemed to swallow light. It stopped and regarded me, its gaze penetrating. Kalara placed herself in front of me, her energy shield rising. "You will not touch him," she said, voice resolute. The creature laughed, a sound that echoed like 1,000 screams. "He carries what we have hunted for centuries. Step aside, warrior." Kalara didn't move. She raised her blade and said simply, "Not tonight." The battle that followed was unlike anything I had ever seen. Kalara was a whirlwind of silver and light, moving with precision and power that seemed beyond mortal limits. I could only watch, paralyzed by awe and fear. Finally, with a final strike, she sent the leader collapsing into the crater. Silence fell. The other hunters dissipated, retreating into shadows that would not follow again for now. When the dust settled, Kalara lowered her blade and turned to me. "You're safe," she said. Her voice was calm, but her silver eyes were tired, heavy with the weight of centuries. I don't know how to thank you," I said, my voice trembling. She shook her head. "There is no need for thanks. You are alive. That is enough." I looked at her then, really looked. For the first time, she was not just a warrior, not just a sentinel. She was my guardian, my protector, and perhaps my companion in a galaxy that was colder than any starless void. We left Zephyria Prime behind, moving to safer systems, always aware that the hunters might return. Kalara never slept, never wavered, but she began to teach me, train me, prepare me. I would not remain helpless forever. And yet, in the quiet moments between battles, when the stars stretched endlessly around us, I realized something more profound. She had chosen me, and I had chosen her. Not because of duty or power, but because of trust, and something that felt a lot like understanding. She guarded me without sleep, without hesitation, because the ancient hunters wanted my blood. And in protecting me, she had shown me a truth deeper than fear or survival. Even in a galaxy filled with cold stars and merciless predators, connection could exist. Even immortals could care. And even a human could find meaning when someone as extraordinary as Kalara, decided he was worth fighting for. The stars stretched on forever, and I knew this was just the beginning. But for the first time, I felt ready. With Kalara by my side, I could face the galaxy's darkest corners. Together, we would endure. Because she was not just a warrior. She was my guardian. And Io was hers.